Citizens now are beginning to understand that globalization matters. They are demanding a voice. They say, we don't want it to be done in secret. We, the people, want the rules to reflect our interest.
Globalization is good for most people in most countries. While globalization may have a negative impact for some, it has resulted in a net benefit for the population of the world. The most notable result is the increase in economic activity. According to the World Economic Forum, international trade has grown to over half of the world's economy. The economies of countries that are more engaged with the global economy have consistently grown much faster than those that have maintained closed economies, on average by about 2.5%. Multinational companies have adopted better working standards, typically paying better wages in developing countries than the local companies would. Improved wealth leads to better healthcare and cleaner water, leading to a longer life expectancy and a better standard of living. An increase in trade between countries means conflict is harder to start. If countries rely on each other for goods and services, they have a much higher stake in making sure peaceful cooperation is maintained. Through technology, globalization has brought a large focus to the environment and international corruption. The internet allows for easy access to information, which has led to large global initiatives such as the Paris Accord, which looks to prevent irreparable damage from being done to our planet, and the spread of the Panama Papers, which exposed international financial corruption. Globalization has had an effect on many aspects of life, including cultural aspects. Nowadays, it is quite common to observe a McDonald's, Japanese sushi, Middle Eastern cuisine, and Korean karaoke place in the same plaza. Globalization is accelerating the spread of foreign cultures more rapidly than ever before. The global exchange of products such as food, entertainment, music, etc., carry their own cultural reflections that provide valuable insights and inspirations beyond one's own culture. Cultural globalization plays an important role in broadening the human perspective. The large popularity of American blockbuster films in Asian countries, or the consumption of Latino music and Chinese food in the West, provides a lens for one to observe and understand the way of life in another country, preventing stereotypes and misconceptions. The friction of having to adapt to new processes, settings, and standards can be minimized with the sharing of cultures.
Beyond spreading culture, globalization also encourages immigration. In fact, according to the International Institute for Environment and Development, increased migration is one of the most visible and significant aspects of globalization. Migrants bolster the destination's economy, moving more than $500 billion in remittances to developing nations, according to the IMF and World Bank. While there are certainly negatives to the increase in immigration due to globalization, the data from the IMF, World Bank, and IIED indicates that globalization economically benefits most people in most countries. Beyond quantitative data, immigration strengthens cultural diversity and promotes human rights when protecting refugees. Globalization encourages these benefits, which are far too valuable for a data point. While there has been an increase in refugees with the emergence of the internet, more refugees seeking asylum does not indicate an increased severity of the refugee crisis. The need of refugees for safety is not dependent on the world's connectedness, and according to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, the increased access to technology due to globalization is helping to keep refugees more safe. While it is difficult to account for technology's direct impact on the economic gap between rich and poor nations, the OECD has been clear that migration facilitated by the increasingly global and technologically connected world reduces poverty, a positive for everyone.
It is clear that there are obvious benefits from higher standards of living and an increase in cultural diversity and immigration. But despite everything discussed, there is still an ever-growing surge of support for nationalism due to information technology. The internet has become a breeding ground for nationalist groups around the globe to use websites for communication and as a way of recruiting new nationalists to their cause.
You know what I am? I'm a nationalist, okay? I'm a nationalist.
During the 2016 and 2020 elections, Donald Trump used nationalism as a major source of recruiting voters. Trump received backlash from the public on countless occasions as videos surfaced online of nationalist extremist groups announcing their support of Trump.
Hail Trump! Hail our people! Hail victory!
A study by the Politics and Region Journal using the Public Disclosure Ethics Survey data found that Christian nationalism was the best predictor that someone who did not vote for Trump in 2016 would vote for him in 2020. These nationalists are fighting for a reduction in trade, immigration, and global collaboration, which is detrimental to the nation they claim to be fighting for. Specifically in the U.S., globalization has brought over $2 trillion of investments into the U.S. However, only 1% of the 30 million registered companies in the U.S. export and sell internationally. Using online retail sites such as Facebook, eBay, or Amazon, these companies that make up the 99% can take advantage of the opportunity currently presented by technology and globalization to help expand their own businesses.
In general, the use of automation improves the consistency of the quality of a product and allows for more accurate estimates and timelines. Industry 4.0 brings technology in the form of sensors and devices that can monitor equipment at workspaces or inventory. These benefits allow for cheaper products that can be purchased by anybody in the world, which would not be possible without globalization. Despite repatriation of some jobs, many manufacturing jobs are still being done in developing countries where automation is also being adopted and used to improve the products. The repatriation of jobs also creates an opportunity for developing countries to move from export-led growth to a new innovative growth model, which could be very beneficial for them according to leading think tanks on the issue. And this is all thanks to globalization. Not only is the economy changing with IT and automation, but globalization has led gig work platforms to grow rapidly, which has led the gig economy to account for a third of the world's working population, according to a study conducted by the ADP Research Institute. Globalization has lowered the barrier to entry for people to participate in gig work due to gig work platforms and technology facilitating the process for them. For example, since the launch of Uber in Canada in 2012, gig workers in the form of drivers and delivery people earned a total of $7.8 billion. Platforms created by big tech companies have undeniably had a global impact, which has led to several positive consequences. Big tech companies are considered to be more powerful than individual nation states, which has had a positive consequence for promoting democracy. For example, social media is believed to have had a significant role in the Arab Spring, a series of anti-government protests with democracy as one of the main goals. Additionally, these big tech companies are multinational enterprises which have offices in multiple countries. Because the OECD recently passed a policy to subject these companies to a global tax, these tech companies economically benefit all the countries that it has offices in through those tax payments. And we can't discuss big tech without talking about China-US relations. Tensions between the two countries have heightened, and the Biden administration has, quote, embraced an increasingly aggressive approach on China, according to the Council on Foreign Relations. It is estimated that between 22 and 37 trillion USD could be at stake depending on China's engagement with the rest of the world, with 8 to 12 specifically from flows of technology and innovation, according to McKinsey. Chinese and American markets rely on each other for the development of information-based technology. For instance, China dominates the rare earth metal supply, which are crucial for modern electronic devices such as phones, EVs, satellites, and more, having some 90% of the market share, according to the Baker Jr. Center for Public Policy. But the fact still remains that ever since China's entry into the World Trade Organization, opening up its markets, both China, the US, and the rest of the world have benefited from this increased globalization. Trade with China has increased the, quote, annual purchasing power of the average U.S. household by $1,500 between 2000 and 2007, again according to the Council on Foreign Relations. Furthermore, American companies such as Google and Microsoft have earned hundreds of billions of dollars annually from sales in China. For China, its economy has grown to become the world's second largest, and consequently, hundreds of millions of people have escaped poverty. It is clear this global partnership is benefiting many people around the globe.
Lastly, we will explore the effects of globalization on the COVID-19 pandemic. Ultimately, it is possible that globalization allowed for faster transmission of COVID-19 across international borders. But at the same time, globalization built the supply chains and trade agreements that allowed for rapid worldwide spread of life-saving vaccines and personal protective equipment. But globalization's best fight against COVID might just be the COVAX pillar.
The COVAX pillar aims to ensure that every country gets fair and equitable access to eventual COVID-19 vaccines.
Let's take a look at COVAX's biggest achievement to date. This goal of equity and global vaccination starts and ends with globalization.
More, faster, broader, and changing. There's more trade than there was before the pandemic. The growth over the next couple of years is predicted to be faster than pre-pandemic.
Globalization is adjusting to new realities, and the growth of world trade is likely to accelerate in the process.